What is up, YouTube and the internet? This is Joe on day 21. Alright, out here in Iowa, showing a urban compost tumbler. www.urbangardencenter.com. I am not endorsed by this brand, but I will say today we're going to take a look at it. Okay, this is a compost tumbler. What you can do is you can take 2 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, so a 2-to-1 ratio. Some people do a 3-to-1 ratio or a 4-to-1, but it really depends on what your goals are. Alright, and so what you'll do is you'll take your food scraps, some leaves, some sticks, some coffee grinds, whatever. Usually people leave out the meat and dairy, but it can be broken down. People just typically don't do it in the city because it will attract things perceived as pests like raccoons or possums. So, with that being said, composting is like a personal recipe. There's no one right way to do it. There's lots of different ways to do it. In fact, if you just let nature do it on its own, it'll do it itself. But humans like to accelerate the process, especially when there is waste. For example, I work at the cooperative grocery store, and there is an average of 50 to 100 pounds of food waste per day. And instead of throwing it away, I help transport it to different people by giving them a call. They come pick it up. And here's an example. Some of it ends up out here. Okay, just to show you here, once this lid, which can be adjusted for different ventilation, you can see in here there are lots of different things in here. Wood chips, leaves, compost, eggshells, different things that are slowly starting to break down. And I was talking to the owner here, and he was telling me that it can definitely attract fruit flies during the certain times of year, and this particular location does get lots of sun. It's under a redbud tree, maybe? Xerxes canadensis? However, it's just the continual tumbling and maintaining that is important. There needs to be some level of moisture, but not too much. There needs to be something to absorb it, but it can't be all dry. So it's finding this perfect balance. Some people say there's an art and a science to compost. If you can drop something on the ground and it'll be broken down, it just goes to show you that nature's already got it figured out. All of the nutrients are recycled into the ecosystem. Alright, now that we've talked about the general purpose of this, now we can move on to 2 examples of compost. So here's example number 1. This is some stuff that was just simply knocked out onto the ground where the insects can further break things down. You can see here, if I shine a light, we'll go ahead and do that. Get that going. I guess I can adjust the brightness. Either way, compost here. It's definitely very rich. I'd say it's very silty, very loamy. It can be squished together. Has lots of potential for nutrient retention and lots of drainage. Lots of surface area here. And the color here is important because it's really rich in minerals. This top layer here, it's very thick and rich. Okay, it's fun to play with in your hands here. There's definitely some pine needles and leaves on top because just like in a natural system, on top of your compost you're going to have your organic material that is not broken down yet. So this can be spread to a garden bed, or it can be spread to a newly planted tree. It can be spread where you need fertility the most. Alright, and instead of putting all the fertility in the landfill, you can source it into where you live at. And that could be as simple as taking food scraps from the kitchen and having a worm bin, or it could be having a compost tumbler, or it could be even subscribing to a local curbside compost collection service, which many areas have. Alright, moving on to the next pile here. This one, definitely a different type of compost, but nonetheless very interesting. You have a very leafy compost. It's very light, very fluffy, very nutrient dense. And you can see all over that it's just so velvety, like a fudge cake or a chocolate icing. Very, very rich. And you can see just the layers of leaf here just folded onto each other. They're not all the way broken down, but that's okay because it's a spectrum. Some of it's broken down, some of it's breaking down, and some of it hasn't started. Alright, we'll move over here. You can see less leafy compost, more soil, more dirt. Some char, looks like biochar charcoal. That's good to have in there. Take the ashes from any fires. Alright. And today this video is just to show how you can take the waste, which people might perceive in terms of food, and you can turn it into something of value. In permaculture, there is no waste. Energy is just transferred from one form to the next, which is also basic physics. However, if we look at current systems, we can see a lot of wasted energy. And there's a lot of wasted food, so if we could stop wasting food and stop wasting energy, I think it'd be great overall. Joe, on day 21, let us strive to compost more every day.